And by the way, presumably these are some of the rarest cigars in the world. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. The best part of this little thing called the cigar is it brings people together.
I was a pyromaniac by genetics.
Yeah, sure.
And I remember visiting the shop, getting extremely excited about all the accessories.
In the early 80s, Cuba started having problems. They had something called the blue mold.
Yes.
We're moving out of Cuba. We're not going to make cigars there anymore. The quality is no good, and I don't want the name of Davidoff to be ruined.
Is that all 50?
It is.
It should be.
I hope so. Hello and welcome to The Luxury Dispatch, the podcast that reveals the refined and the rare, people, items and stories that make up the luxury industry. I'm Tom Chamberlin, and today we shall be revisiting the world of cigars, but through a side door, bringing you a story of revolution, immigration, assimilation, and the creation of an institution. It is the story of Edward and Eddie Sahakian of Davidoff of London. This episode will explore how this shop, pilgrimage site for the world's cigar aficionados like Arnold Schwarzenegger, came to be and spend time picking the brains of two of the most knowledgeable minds on this mystical topic, specifically on non-Cuban, otherwise known as America-friendly cigars. Edward, Eddie, welcome.
Thank
Pleasure
you very
to
much,
be here, Tom.
I knew at some point when we were doing this podcast, this was a conversation we were going to have. I've known you 15 years. And in that time, we've spoken a lot, and I know your story, but it's never been anything other than astounding. And I think that anybody who hasn't heard it really should. And this is, I guess, an opportunity to revisit that. And so the Sahakians and cigars is not the beginning of the story, because it goes back to, even goes back to Armenia, doesn't it? But ultimately, let's just introduce you to, starting with you, Edward, and let's talk about how it was that we ended up with Davidoff of London. Obviously, I know this can go on for a long time, but I think that it is a story definitely worth retelling.
Well, sometimes I wonder myself how it all came about. I have to go back to the late 70s. It was the late 70s. I was a regular visitor to London by then. I was living in Iran, obviously. Eddie was a young little boy, his sister, Caroline, the whole family used to live in Iran. And I used to, due to business and pleasure as well, used to visit Europe, but in particular London. I always loved London. It was a beautiful place. My wife studied in London as well, so she had a very soft spot about living in London. And we often talked about it. She would say, I wish we were living in London. I miss the rain in London. I said, well, it's not raining here in Tehran. And on one of those occasions, well, on many of the occasions I used to travel here, I have some fond memories of going to, at that time I was smoking a lot of pipe and some cigars as well. So I used to visit, my first stop was always the Dunhill shop in Jermyn Street.
Yes.
Which was opposite Fort and Mason.
Yep, okay.
That was the building. And it was bombed during the war. And the story was, and this story was told to me by Richard Dunhill himself. In the middle of the night, 2 or 3 in the morning, the manager of the shop picks up the phone and calls the Prime Minister's office, wakes up the secretary, and he says, can you please inform the Prime Minister, which was Winston Churchill at the time, inform the Prime Minister that the bomb has fallen onto our building. Part of it has been destroyed, but his cigars are safe. But I used to visit that, the shop there was beautiful. I used to buy my pipes from Dunhill. I still have a few pipes from Dunhill, but also cigars. I used to buy cigars there. Some beautiful cigars. They used to import them in those large wooden containers, 10 or 15,000 cigars at a time. And then there were several other shops I would go and visit. There was Robert Lewis down the road on St. James's Street. There was
Is that what became J.J. Fox?
It became the J.J. Fox,
yeah,
exactly.
Okay.
And there was a shop on Jermyn Street, not too far from the famous tramps.
Yeah.
It was almost next to it. It was the Sheraton shop. The Sheraton, they were pipe makers. They were to my opinion, they were the number 2 pipe makers next to Dunhill at the time. So it was a lovely area. I used to go there, buy my pipes and cigars and tobaccos, and just spend a lot of time there. And then fast forward to 1979 or end of 78, there were troubles in Iran starting to brew. There were riots in the streets.
Before, just to sense check on the situation in Iran before the revolution, was cigar smoking something that people did in Iran at the time?
Not really, no.
Were there shops where there was the capacity to get a hand of?
There were no shops whatsoever selling cigars, and not even pipes, nor pipe tobacco as such.
So you coming to London and doing all that cigar pipe shopping was also practical. It wasn't just because you love London, but also you did need to do that for your supply.
Well, I have to admit, it wasn't only London. There was Geneva as
well.
Fine,
we'll take it.
There was Geneva. I used to go to the Davidoff shop there to buy cigars, but also definitely in London also. Geneva, you always pass through it. You don't really want to spend too much time there. There isn't much to do in Geneva. But in London, it was lovely. It was very nice.
Anyone who listens to this show from Geneva, he's not wrong, but we do love you. Anyway.
No, we do love them. We love them until 8 o'clock. When 8 o'clock, the lights switch off and the whole city goes that quiet. It's still the case.
But what I will say about Switzerland is that it is very cigar friendly.
Yes.
In a way that London...
It's always been. You're
London no longer.
Right, yes.
So, sorry, end of the 70s, Iran.
Well, end of the 70s, there were problems, riots happening in the capital, in Tehran, to a point where schools started closing down and the situation was getting worse, to a point where young Eddie, he was going, I think he was the first grade, kindergarten or first grade, I'm not sure.
Something like that.
His school closed down. And I thought it would be a wise thing to do to bring them over in London so they could spend a few months in London and improve their English. In the meantime, to wait and see how things are developing in Iran. They came to London. I went back to Tehran. And November, December 78, the situation started to get better. There was a change of government. The Shah had appointed a new general. It was called General Azhari, I think. And when he took over, became prime minister, he installed a few tanks in the streets and soldiers, guns, and things went quiet for a while. So I thought, well, that's it. Then everybody had their fun. Everything is back to normal again. And it was that Christmas, 28th of December, 1978, I remember so well. I picked up my suitcase, coming to London to spend New Year and to spend Christmas together, and then we were all going to go back. And it's that famous story you've heard when I came with, in my suitcase, there was 20 kilos of Iranian rice, which is very good for a friend of ours who lived here. And in my hand briefcase, there were 6 kilos of caviar. It was a last minute thing I just picked up from the airport. And I thought, I will enjoy it with friends there. And of course, my tuxedo. That's all it was.
That's what you left Iran with.
Yeah. I came here thinking we'll be going back in a couple of weeks' time. Whilst we were here, there was suddenly a change of situation. More riots happening in the streets. And there was on the, I think it was on the 5th or 6th of January, because we stayed behind. We were going to go back after New Year, and we decided to stay a few days longer to celebrate the Armenian Christmas, which is on the 6th of January, and then we'll go back. Around the 5th or 6th of January, I heard the news. We had a phone call middle of the night. They said, you won't believe what's happened. There was big riots in the streets. They set fire to all the cinemas, nightclubs, and to your breweries as well. Beat up the manager. At the moment, it won't be safe for you to come back. Stay there until we let you know what's happening. That was the beginning of my journey. I was still worried, concerned. So probably it will come down, we'll still go back. Another week later, one morning, watching the news, they were showing the Shah getting onto the plane and leaving the country. When I saw that as well, I realized things will not change. It will just get worse. It won't go back to the old regime. And I was thinking what to do, what will be the next step, and realized the first and most important thing I need to do is go and sort out my immigration situation. I was here on a 3-month visitor's visa, so probably I need to extend that.
Yeah.
So what do? You go and see a solicitor. And I asked my bank manager then, now friends, but then he was just a bank manager. And I said, I need to see a solicitor. Can you recommend somebody? He said, yes, I'll recommend a person I know. He gave me the address, made an appointment. I went and visited him. We sat down. And he said, oh, Mr. Sahakian, what's your problem? I said, well, I don't have a problem as such, but my problem is that I'll be stuck here for a few more months, and I will need to renew my visitor's visa. He said, fine, well, it's not a problem. It's very easy. We'll do an application. I will do this, that, and that. And we had a nice long chat, like we're having a chat, sort of talking from the past and my situation.
Before we go further into that story, can I just ask, do you remember any of this?
I don't remember that element of it. I do remember leaving school.
Yeah.
I remember arriving in the UK in London. We did have an apartment here, so it was not entirely foreign to me, and it was great fun. And I remember starting at an American school, we were in St. John's Wood at the time,
right.
An American school. So I remember those elements as it related to home life.
Got it.
None of this, of course.
No, of course. Yeah, no, of course. So forgive me.
Yeah, so I felt embarrassed when he said there's nothing to pay, no charge. And I said, well, at least allow me to invite you for a spot of lunch at a very nice restaurant, which I used to go there frequently, even at that time, called Wilton's.
Yes.
It's the same Wilton's as it is on Jermyn Street now, but in those days, it was on Berry Street, just on the side street.
Got it.
With the original fixtures and fittings, and the owner, Mrs. Marks, used to sit there by the door. Never a smile on her face. I never saw her smiling at anybody. And we had a nice lunch. We finished off a nice bottle of claret. And he said, have you thought what you will be wanting to do if you're not able to go back to your country ever again? That's when I realized perhaps we drank too much wine and too much brandy. So I was taken back. I said, of course I'm going back. I've left everything behind as it is. It's just a short holiday, a few weeks. I'll be going back maybe in a few weeks' time, if not a couple of months' time. But I will be going back. No, I haven't thought of anything else than that. He said, yes, I realized, but he could see the future much better than I could.
Okay.
And he said, are there any hobbies? Is there anything you enjoy doing? So I love traveling. I love photography. And then as I'm touching the cigars, it's like the cigars were talking to me. And so for a short moment, I said, William, you know what I would really like if I had ever had to start all over again? It would be to have a small cigar shop, like the cigar shop in Geneva, in Davidoff. I used to go there regularly by then, where I would keep my cigars on one side, a few accessories, lighters, cutters, and that will be lovely. There will be no problems, no worries. And if I don't sell them, I will smoke them. As I'm telling him this brief story, my dear friend William, he takes out his pen and he starts writing. He said, "Did you say what was the name? Davidoff, is that one F or two Fs?" I said, "No, it's two Fs." He said, "I'll write a letter to them to see if they want to have a shop in London." "They don't have a shop in London, do they?" I said, "No, they don't." He said, "I'll write a letter and inquire." I said, "William, I've never been a shopkeeper. I wouldn't have a clue what to do, and I'm not opening a shop, and I don't even know where to start." This was just a boy talking about his dreams. Forget it. He said, No. Well, I'll write a letter, and I'm not going to charge you. Once he said, "I'm not going to charge you," I said, "Well, I've got nothing to lose then." And he wrote a letter. A week, 10 days later, we got a reply, or he had a reply, and it was from the president of the company saying that he's passing through London and he'll be happy to meet us 8 o'clock in the morning in the lobby of the Intercontinental Hotel for half an hour. And William said, "Will you be available?" I said, "Of course, I've got nothing else to do." 8 o'clock in the morning, we were sitting on a bench opposite the elevators in the Intercontinental Hotel. The doors of the elevator opened and two gentlemen stepped out of it. And William looked at them and then looked at me, said, "It must be them." I said, "Why? Do you know them? Have you seen their photographs?" He said, No, but it's exactly 8 o'clock and they are Swiss. It must be them." He was absolutely spot on. I walked out. It was Dr. Schneider, the president of the company, accompanied by Raymond, his assistant, Raymond Scherer. And we stood up, shook hands, sat down. In my mind, I had prepared all sorts of replies, statics, about stories as a business transaction. But, he started chatting everything apart from business. It was a very interesting meeting. We chatted and talked about the whole world, the weather, the families, everything. And then at one point he looked at his watch. He said, "Oh God, it's 10:30 in the morning and I had a meeting in the city at 10 o'clock. I have to go, but you will hear from us." So we stood up, we shook hands, and off he went. Another week passed and we had a letter from them saying if we're still interested in pursuing opening a shop, he will be glad to welcome us in Basel, their head offices. We had a nice meeting with my friend William, of course, and we had a long chat. And Dr. Schneider had put a few conditions. He said there are seven conditions. If you agree with that, we will give you the agency. And I said, "Well, what are the conditions?" And he said, "We have to approve the location. We have to approve the staff. You have to come for training there. You have to abide by our high standards," things like that. So he said, "Do you agree with all that, Edward?" I said, "No, Dr. Schneider." He couldn't believe me. "What do you mean, no?" I said, "No, these are my conditions. I don't have a clue about location. I don't have a clue about quality. I don't have a clue about training staff. I don't have much clue myself about running a shop. So I will need all these to learn from you. So I insist that we do have these conditions, and these are my conditions."
Did you know much about cigars at that point? I mean, you'd smoked them.
I used to love cigars. I used to smoke cigar. By then I was smoking. Again, even then, my favorite cigar was the Davidoff No. 2. I used to travel through Geneva. I used to always stop there, buy a few boxes of cigars.
Okay, so paperwork was done.
Paperwork done, signed, sealed, and I came back to find the location. On 29th of May, 1980, the shop was ready, finished, and of course we had Zeno Davidoff came over. That was the first time he was seeing the shop.
Yeah.
He had not seen it. He knew about it, but he had not seen it. He came over with his wife, Dr. Schneider, with his wife, Raymond. We had a lovely opening reception in the Dorchester Hotel. We had 500 guests then. And on the opening of that night, there were two events being celebrated. One, the opening of the new Davidoff shop in London, and also the launch of the Davidoff Dom Perignon cigars.
Yes.
And we had Baron Philip de Rothschild was there, one of the guests, and at one point he was invited to go onto the stage with Zeno. They stood there. Zeno Davidoff, he took out the Dom Perignon cigar, he cut it, and he started lighting it in his own style. And Baron Philip de Rothschild, he took the bottle of the Dom Perignon, the sommelier, he cut it with the sword.
Great.
He filled the glass, and then they exchanged. He gave Zeno a glass of the Dom Perignon champagne, and Zeno gave a Dom Perignon Davidoff cigar. And that was the beginning and the celebration.
How fabulously classy.
It was a lovely
because that
event.
was one of the things that Davidoff did. Was there was like a decem, wasn't there? And there was a lot of cigars names that had the same name as wines.
Yes,
famous
there was
wines.
Chateau Yquem, Chateau Margaux, Chateau Brion. Chateau Yquem, at one point they had to stop it because the new owners didn't want to continue.
Didn't want any tobacco.
But the rest they did.
Could I ask, Eddie, you might want to answer this. Who was Zeno Davidoff?
So Zeno Davidoff was, historically he was born 1911, and his family, they were from Ukraine. They had moved to Zurich early on, and Zeno's father had set up a cigarette shop in Zurich. And Zeno fell in love with the leaf, all things tobacco, so much so that in the 1930s, he took a tour around South America and the Caribbean to find out how the leaf is cultivated, how are these wonderful cigars produced. Came back absolutely in love and enthralled by cigars, distinct from cigarettes. And it was his impetus and vision and thought that transformed what was really not a humble, but a modest cigarette shop into a cigar shop that specialized in handmade cigars. And then, of course, by this point, they opened in Geneva. And Zeno, very wisely, towards the early parts of World War II, had secured the entire stock of Cuban cigars in Europe, anticipating big problems. So when World War II ended, Zeno became the source of Cuban cigars in Europe. And anyone who loves cigars, well, nothing has changed. Only the finest of the fine enjoy great cigars.
Yeah.
So, of course, they went and found Zeno, and he became a really successful...
He was rewarded for his wisdom,
for his foresight
by the Cubans by naming a cigar after him. They told Zeno they would like to name a cigar after you. I hope you will agree. And this is a story he told me. He said, yes, I will agree, providing that you maintain certain qualities and standards that I would inspect. I would come and at least once a year check the stock that you're making, and I will smoke the cigar regularly and make sure that it is of fine quality.
Very much.
And which he did for many years until the famous divorce came along.
Yes, so should we talk about that? Because it's a really interesting aspect of the history of the story of Cuban versus non-Cuban, as well as also your story too, because you, by the time of the divorce, as you put it, you've been open a decade, very well established in London. It was a thriving business. I mean, it was your first job as well, wasn't it?
It was, yes, very much. So I was aware of the shop. For me, it was, you can imagine, as a young man, a young boy even, I was a pyromaniac by genetics.
Yeah, sure.
And I remember visiting the shop, getting extremely excited about all the accessories. So I still have matches. We used to sell sets of matches with World War II airplanes or different guards from the UK, things. I used to buy the matches and collect them.
Yeah.
I used to pick up the odd lighter, very excited to own a lighter, even though I wasn't smoking. And of course, pipes. Yeah. I still have a few pipes, which I picked up from the basket.
Great, yeah.
So I was aware of it. It was this wonderful curiosity shop. And I think any young child is fascinated by these sorts of knickknacks.
And your father did also sit you down and give you a Davidoff number 2.
Yes.
That was a punishment. That was
There was
not
a punishment.
An encouragement.
It was a punishment, exactly. I mean,
that was
that's
meant
an
to be
extraordinary thing.
punishment, because his mom had found a lighter, a Zippo lighter, in his pocket, and she became hysteric. Greta, said, "What's happened?" Eddie is smoking. Now, in those days, you were 16 years old. You have to stop him. He can't smoke. He's far too young. I said, "How do you know he's smoking?" "I found this lighter in his pocket." I said, "Well, it's okay. I'll have a word with him. It's not the end of the world. He's already 16 years old,
In those days, 16 was the age.
legal age.
Yes, of course.
When Eddie came back from school that night, I said, "Eddie, Saturday morning, I want you to come to the shop with me. I want to have a word with you. Man-to-man talk, away from mom." We went to the shop. It was about 10 o'clock in the morning. 10,
Far too early is what I remember.
10:30 in the morning. And I asked Eddie to sit on those famous chairs. And he's waiting for me. What am I going to say? I didn't say anything. I went inside the humidor room. I picked up one of my favorite cigars, the Davidoff number 2. I came out in front of him. I cut the cigar. I lit it. And he's watching all the time what I'm doing, expecting I'm going to smoke it. And when it was nice and lit and ready to enjoy, I said, "Here you are, Eddie. This you have to smoke right now in front of me." I said, "Oh, Dad, I don't smoke." He said, No, I know you smoke. Your mom has found a lighter in your pocket.
Just to clarify, and you can say now, did you smoke?
No, I was absolutely.
Be honest.
Firstly, I was
I will
rugby.
tell Mom, Eddie.
No, genuinely, I was keenly into my rugby at the time. Very healthy. I love Zippo lighters. It was very trendy then. Levi 501s,
Opening
the
with
whole
your trousers and stuff. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, but it was great. I said, "You have to smoke it. And let me tell you, you shouldn't smoke. It's not good for you. But if you are going to smoke, don't smoke anything rubbish. Don't smoke cigarettes. Don't smoke other things." I didn't want to mention it by name. But if you're going to smoke and you have to smoke, then smoke the best. And the best is a good handmade, pure cigar. Here you are. Smoke this. Enjoy it. And if your friends tell you that you're smoking this, tell them you're smoking the best in the world, so nobody could make fun of you while you're smoking this and you're not smoking whatever else.
What you would have smoked then, I'm assuming, is a Cuban Davidoff number 2.
Yes.
Which is a sort of Lancero-shaped, lovely, thin.
It's slightly shorter.
Shorter, but the same ring gauge.
Same ring gauge.
Yes.
But yours would have been a Cuban one. They would have been made in El Laguito, but something happened. What was that?
The early 80s, Cuba started having problems. They had something called the blue mold.
Yes.
Which affects the tobacco to a point where the only way to stop it, you have to burn all the leaves, all the crops, and then give it a year time, and then replant again. So they were having problems with shortages, with the quality of the cigars. And these problems started affecting the Davidoff cigars to a point where Zeno Davidoff and Dr. Schneider, they wrote to, then it was called Cuba Tobacco. It wasn't Habanos, it was Cuba Tobacco. They started writing letters complaining that the cigars that we're receiving, they have problems. Physically, they don't draw very well, they don't taste well, they don't look well. We're having complaints from our customers, and you have to put this right. Otherwise, we won't let you use our name to put our name on no good cigars. They had several meetings with Cuba and Davidoff. They could not reach an arrangement and an agreement.
Okay.
The Cuban said, "Oh, nothing wrong with the cigars." Davidoff said, no, they're definitely not good. Well, there was a batch of 150,000 cigars were famously set fire to by Davidoff. He said, "These cigars are no good. it will cost us more to send them back. And we're just going to set fire to them.
Put them in
here.
a ditch and just set fire.
Well, that's exactly
Would
what they
smell
did.
amazing.
I don't know if it was a ditch or where, but they were not set fire to one by one, all at once.
Yeah, exactly. There's a big old bonfire. A
And
nice
there
smelling
was
one.
a big story about that as well. And they said, if you continue making these cigars, we're not going to buy anymore.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what happened. 1990, one day we had an official letter and a phone call from Dr. Schneider. He said, Edward, just want to let you know, we're moving out of Cuba. We're not going to make cigars there anymore. The quality is no good, and I don't want the name of Davidoff to be ruined. I said, well, does that mean there'll be no more cigars? He said, no, you will have some cigars. Shortly, I will let you know. I've looked to several places already, and I'm going to take the final decision in which country we're going to make the finest cigars ever. I said, well, I shall wait and see, And it's changed. Suddenly, the map of cigars changed from Davidoff being the number one cigar. It almost disappeared. The Cubans started to pick up brands like Monte Cristo, A. Chapman, Romeo and Juliet. They were all available. And people just switched from what they couldn't get to what they can get, which were the cigars. And also at the same time, there was a cigar being launched and promoted, the Cohiba.
Yep.
There was the Cohiba Corona Special, which is the same size as the Davidoff number 2, the Cohiba Lancero, and then the Cohiba Panatella, which was the same as the Ambassadrice.
Was the Esplendido an early?
And the Splendido came out a bit later.
A bit later. Okay.
The Splendido is the Churchill size, and then they came out also with the in 92, 93, or maybe a bit later, they came out with the Siglo range, Siglo 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. And Davidoff, at the same time, they went to Dominican Republic into partnership with a gentleman called Henke Kellner.
The great Henke.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Great
The
Henke,
great.
exactly.
And how we know Cuban cigars is that there are 3 leaves that they use as part of the blend: the Velado, the Seco, and the Ligero. They all play different roles. When Davidoff was then going off into the New World, so Nicaragua, Dominican Republic, wherever they were going.
It was Dominican Republic at the beginning, yes.
Did that change the rules slightly in terms of blending? Because, different leaves, lots of different leaves are being used, rather than this sort of slightly limiting 3 that they use for Cuban cigars. Did it change the rules when you started making New World?
Henke himself, he was a master chef of blending to start with. I mean, he had his own ideas, he still does, about blending, fermenting, maturing tobacco. He did it in his own way. He didn't talk much about it. Like any good chef, they have their secrets. They don't like to sharing it with the world. But the things that he did share, and he had a very good assistant, Eladio, together, I mean, they started doing a variety of blends. With the Davidoff, at first they were trying to almost copy, to make it as similar to what the Cuban blend was. And then they realized the Cuban tobacco and their tobacco are 2 different things. And Henke took the blending in a different way, with a mild Davidoff still stayed mild, but with a different flavor, with a different taste.
Is that a case of terroir? Because I know that, for example, Fuente, who are in Dominican Republic as well, as a family, kind of left with a bunch of sort of Cuban tobacco seeds in their pockets, and that's how they did it. But yet the product is different, or the end product is different.
It's absolutely different. I mean, the terroir makes a very big difference. I mean, what tobacco grows in Cuba is different to what grows in Dominican Republic, is different to what grows in Nicaragua, it's different to what grows in Mexico.
Yeah.
Each one has its own flavor, its own taste, and its own character, the tobaccos. Ideally, ideally, if one could make cigars made with a blend of Dominican, Nicaragua, Cuban, and possibly maybe Ecuador or Mexican wrapper or binder, they could make some beautiful, delicious cigars.
Yeah. But it's the absence of Cuba, you think, that there's a prohibitive aspect
Well, it
to
works the other way around as well. In Cuba, you know, the absence of all the other varieties which they're not allowed to, well, they don't use.
Yes, well, quite. And
but as we're talking, as we are talking today, things could change.
Just when you thought you were listening to the only podcast in the world without a NordVPN advertisement, think again. In fairness, there's a reason you hear about them everywhere. Many of you listening to the Luxury Dispatcher fairly well travelled, regularly moving between London, New York, Geneva, Dubai, or indeed the less corporate, more recuperative destinations like St. Bart's, Aspen, and the south of France. Wherever you go, there is one modern ritual we all perform within about 30 seconds of sitting down somewhere, connecting to the Wi-Fi. They say that home is where the Wi-Fi connects automatically. I say it is where it connects safely. The problem is that hotel Wi-Fi or airport lounges are not the most secure environments in the world. NordVPN encrypts your internet connection, so things like bank details, passwords, and your online identity stay private. Think of it as putting a rather elegant opera cloak over your digital life while you're traveling. It's also surprisingly useful for much more critical situations, like once when I wanted to catch the rugby while traveling. Perhaps for you it is the cricket or baseball. NordVPN let me switch my virtual location so I could access my streaming services as if I was back home. And one account works across up to 10 devices, which means your phone, laptop, tablet, and everything else can all be protected at once, whether you're working from a Mayfair office, a New York hotel room, or the Wi-Fi network of a slightly optimistic airport lounge. To get the best discount off your NordVPN plan, go to nordvpn.com/dispatch. Our link will also give you 4 extra months on the 2-year plan, and there's no risk with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. The link is in the podcast episode description box. One thing I've always had an issue with getting my head around non-Cuban cigars is the fact that this has got a wrapper from Honduras, a binder from Dominican Republic, and a filler from from Ecuador, right? You can find it from all sorts of different places into one cigar. But how does anybody as a consumer kind of understand how to get their head around that in particular? Because it's kind of like drinking a wine that is from, one is from the Napa Valley, some bits from the Napa Valley, some of it's from Burgundy, some of it's from, Italy. So it's a hard thing to get your head around what you're buying into.
It's more like a fine Scotch whiskey, not single blend, but a blended whiskey or a fine brandy. If you take a fine brandy, it's not from one source, it's from a variety of sources, a variety of years, blending it. And that's what makes it delicious. Blending tobacco, it just gives you the opportunity to create more flavors and more tastes to it. And it doesn't mean that everything that is blended is delicious, no. And it doesn't mean if something is not delicious for you, it's not delicious for me, or vice versa. There's in the last 40 years, 45 years that I've been in the business, I've seen a lot of changes, but what's happening in the last 5, 6, 7, 10 years, it's incredible. There's such a variety of flavors of cigars. Flavors, blends, strengths, tastes, appearances, plus all the beautiful bands and boxes that come with it as well.
And there seems to be a lot of people who are able to kind of make their own cigars as well these days. Like, and you can appeal to, I'm I presume a producer in the Dominican Republic, for example, who white label cigars, and you sort of slap your name and a label on it.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
The boom we saw in the 90s, triggered by Cigar Aficionado, it was very much American-led. And, of course, the U.S. couldn't access Cuban tobacco officially.
Yes.
So there was a massive growth in the domestic U.S. market of brands that were based in Dominican, Nicaragua, Honduras, and other places. And what we saw was quite a lot of rubbish. people who just wanted to put their name on a cigar and try and sell it.
Yeah.
And the Dominican, Nicaragua, Honduras, all these producing nations, there were not enough high-quality producers or high-quality tobacco to really feed that. So the world was inundated with some pretty mediocre cigars.
Okay.
The difference, though, now, and again, sorry to interrupt you on that, Tom, just to say, this time round with the cigar boom we've seen over the last few years, there is that. And Dominican Republic has matured, Nicaragua has matured, Honduras, Ecuador, even Cameroon wrappers. There's so many origins now, Mexico, and they are making exceptional leaf. And the quality of production is exceptional. So they are delivering cigars that stand shoulder to shoulder with some of the finest Cubans.
And also, crucially, there's the reliability aspect of it, because in Cuba, as much as we love the cigars, the quality control is poor, or let's say average to poor. And you are likely to get a plug cigar in every box-ish. That's larger than 10. It is not an unlikely thing.
Yes,
it's a very likely.
Sorry, thank you for being less diplomatic. I appreciate that. And plugged ultimately means they've been overfilled. They probably haven't been destemmed well enough,
tightly wrapped or
wrapped,
too loosely,
and they've got. Often you have those sticks from the stems, the sort of hard stems that you need to kind of remove. And that loosens it up and allows you to smoke it again, which is fine if you do it, and it all smokes fine after that. But ultimately, it sort of subtracts from the smoking experience that you have. And when it comes to non-Cuban cigars, I've never had a plugged one.
Yes, I think that's fair. That's certainly been our experience, and there is a very obvious reason for that. There is an absolute profit motive to preserving high quality production for your brand. And when you can control all elements of that, as Davidoff do, as Fuente do, as others do, then you're in control of all the levers. If there is a batch coming out which has a problem in construction, that gets stopped before it leaves the factory.
So competition with all the other brands is breeding that level of high quality in a way that Cuba doesn't, because they own it all as a state.
And accountability.
Okay.
It comes out of your pocket at every level. If you make a mistake with your brand and the word goes around that your cigars are plugged, then clearly people are going to be cautious buying your cigar. Cuba has benefited from having distributed accountability. That's probably the right way to put it.
That's nicely put.
And of course, as retailers, we're the front line of the war against poorly made cigars. When a customer returns a cigar that is poorly constructed, if it's a Cuban cigar, or we never have it with non-Cuban, but let's presume it's a Cuban, we don't want the client to take the blame for that. So we will absorb that very often into our own cash flow.
But you are now the equivalent of Dr. Schneider, Zeno Davidoff, calling up the producer and saying, "Look, I'm not willing to put up with that. You need to sort your supply better." And if they're a non-Cuban brand like Davidoff, a maker like Davidoff, they will probably listen. But sadly, in Cuba, it's a bit
that's
like
exactly why Davidoff left Cuba.
Exactly. That's exactly my point.
Because they did not have control.
What's the best route for collectors when it comes to non-Cuban cigars? Because with Cuban, you have guys who tend to get a good steer on the best brands, and obviously they're that's fairly well dictated. And when limited editions come out or regionals come out, people have an eye for this stuff. But when it comes to collecting and aging of non-Cuban cigars, where do you think the market is with that?
That's an intriguing difference between Cuba and everyone else, essentially. In our experience, Cuban production is undercooked, is the best way to put it, when it comes straight from Cuba. It needs time to settle, and it needs time to blend together, kind of harmonize. Mm-hmm. And time is your friend. Many, many years will improve the cigar. Non-Cuban, in general, arrives ready to eat.
Okay.
If that's the best way to describe it. Ready baked. And therefore, the impact of time is minimal relative to the Cuban. It will still have an impact over many years. We're talking 5, 10, 15, maybe 20 years. You will, of course, taste a difference in the tobacco. However, the difference is much less. And the philosophy and principle behind most non-Cuban producers is that the cigar should arrive to the customer ready to enjoy. Now, as a collector, what would you collect in the non-Cubans? Depends what your motivation is. If your intent is to make a quick buck, do you want to flip the cigar, buy it for 100, sell it for 200 as quickly as possible? There's very little that you can do in the non-Cuban world. There's a few brands, some of the Davidoff limited editions, Fuente limited editions, some of the Padron, very, very scarce productions. It's possible, but it's a tiny market who would pay you more than shelf price for those. So my advice to anyone who comes in and says, I want to collect non-Cubans, is the best advice probably you can give an art collector. Buy something you're happy to smoke.
Consistently.
Yeah. Don't think about resale value. Buy what you would happily smoke. And if the price never goes up, you're still very happy. The fact that you might make money on it and that you might one day decide to sell the cigar in the future is a happy accident, but not something you should expect. And I think this is part of the problem with the Cuban market. So many people became intermediaries in the, let's call it the last 20 years.
Yeah.
They were not real smokers. They were people who were doing it just to turn a profit in a quick, short period of time.
Cuban cigars at least became an asset class.
Absolutely right.
And so when that happens, anybody's going to sort of jump on it to see if they can make money on it.
Very much.
But certainly I know a lot less about the kind of aging potential. It's our refrain that we all go to when a new Cuban cigar comes to the market. Oh, what do you think? Well, give it 6 months.
Yeah.
We also give it 6 months. But you're saying that every time you get a new box of, Davidoffs come through the door, they've had that 6 months, or they've had that
6 months and more. And they're, as Eddie said, they're ready to be enjoyed.
What are the best Davidoff cigars?
Best is such a loaded term when we talk about cigars, of course.
The best one is the one you enjoy the most. That's my opinion.
Okay.
To me, the best Davidoff cigar is the number 2 still.
Yeah.
The format is just perfect. It's a 38 ring gauge, 6 inches long. It's not too big, it's not too small. It's mild. I could smoke the cigar any time in the day. I could smoke it early in the morning, which I did this morning, or I could smoke it in the evening, during the day. That's the best cigar for me. Having said that, there are times that after a nice meal, after a nice lunch, I would like to enjoy a nice large ring gauge cigar as well. But the best cigar, in a nutshell, is the one that you will enjoy the best at the time that you would like to smoke it.
Right. Eddie, your father gave far too diplomatic an answer. I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit more.
Okay, so let's dig a bit deeper into what we mean by best. Do we mean the most expensive?
No.
So
surely not.
For some people, that is a gauge of quality. And if it's in the world of Davidoff, then it's the Oro Blanco. They have a new variation of that. Oro Blanco meaning white gold.
Yeah.
The cigar itself is a Toro size. It's about a 56 ring gauge, 54, 56 ring gauge.
It's a big old thing.
It's a big cigar.
Yeah.
Beautifully presented. And the current generation is called the 111. And the reason it's called the 111 is because the combined age of the tobaccos in the cigar is 111 years.
Huh.
An interesting way to put it, isn't it?
Yeah, that is interesting.
In the past, people might say there's 15-year-old tobacco in here, but they've done it differently. It is a collectible cigar because it's produced in very small quantities. It's extremely expensive relative to other production. It's around 650, maybe even 700 pounds now for one cigar. And that puts it right up there with some of the more exotic Cuban limited editions, and probably nothing in current production from Cuba hits that mark. That's one. It is a wonderful cigar.
That year of the snake one with the presentation humidor, that they come out quite expensive as well.
Yes, they do. The current series of Zodiac limited editions that Davidoff produce fluctuate between 80 and 110 pounds a cigar, depending on the size.
The year of the Ox one is my favorite of those.
Yeah, and they tend to be collectible.
It's about the size of an ox as well.
What
it's massive. You do not smoke that on an empty stomach.
No,
that's absolutely.
And when I think about those are the ones that I get most asked for by people subsequent to them finishing. So they're only produced in a limited quantity. And then 2, 3, 4 years down the road, you still get people coming and saying, do you have a year of the dog? Do you have a year of the rat? So there's a really interesting collectors community there. For me, my favorite, probably the one I would smoke the most, if that's another measure of favorite, is the Davidoff No. 2, as per my father, because it's so approachable. The one that I would smoke with the most delight is, I think, from the Winston Churchill range. I've always been a fan of the white label Winston Churchill.
Okay.
And the Churchill size Winston Churchill ticks the box in terms of complexity, strength. It's multi-origin. You do have Dominican, you have Nicaraguan there, you have, if I'm not mistaken, a little bit of Mexican as well, possibly an Ecuadorian wrapper. So there's complexity coming through on the blending as well. Really well made. So those would be my little...
the late night is also very nice.
The late hour,
well.
yes.
I'd throw in the late hour, the chef's selection, which
Yes.
is not part of the Churchill, but that's a great cigar.
Yes.
Great, lovely shape as well. What else? Well, of course, your 40th anniversary cigar.
That was a lovely cigar.
That was a lovely cigar.
Yes.
And I was
Still is, but-
I was lucky enough to go to Basel with you.
Yeah.
And we sat and we sampled how many cigars in how many minutes?
Yeah, good.
I mean, I think it worked out.
It was like 9 cigars or 6 cigars, some obscene quantity.
Yeah, but it was an absolutely superb day picking the blend that we all like the most for the celebratory 40th anniversary cigar.
Well, can I say something
Yes,
here
of course.
whilst we're on that subject? I don't know if I'll be around or not, but young Eddie, you better start thinking about the 50th anniversary.
Because it's been 46 years now, hasn't it?
So,
Well,
and if you ask nicely from Tom to assist you with the tasting of it, even better.
Yeah, I'm quite important these days.
Tom,
I'm
if you
busy.
could excuse from your viewers your participation for a few days, we will need to do some proper.
You're booking me in 4 years in advance, perfectly fine, or at least it would be 3 years in advance, perhaps. To sort of, it was a superb thing, and I think that perhaps the enjoyment of the cigar itself, which I have to say ended up being quite a strong cigar, perhaps the memories of it and the kind of camaraderie of it and that sense of community that we had with the whole group together was what made it makes it so special. And perhaps that is the secret of cigars. And it sort of doesn't, it doesn't necessarily matter that something is Cuban or non-Cuban. It's the sort of memories you form around it.
Beautifully put, Tom.
Because you're doing it outside of the sort of workaday lives that we all have.
Yes, and intriguing you mention that, because it reminds me that of all the Davidoff cigars I've smoked, the 40th anniversary we blended with a vision that it is for aging. If you remember that fed into our thoughts about the blend. Yeah. And actually, it is changing with time. I've smoked one very recently. So that is perhaps the exception that proves the rule. I'm not sure, but
I think you're right. I think I've got to sort of dig in and have another one soon then. So we hear three sort of wise men sit here talking about a subject that we know and love. You, of course, enjoy them yourselves, but a big part of your job is guiding people into the world. Somebody new walks into Davidoff of London these days. There's decades of experience there to help them. So how would you do that?
Would you like to start that, or shall I?
Well, I'll tell you how I...
It starts with a hug always, of course, because you're the Sahakian, and that's how it is.
No, my first question, somebody walking said, I want a cigar. And usually you could tell from the looks on the face of a person if he's ever smoked a cigar or not. So in a very gentle way, I ask, have you smoked cigars before? Or can you tell me what you normally smoke? And if he turns around and says, well, I've never smoked a cigar, or maybe just one or two. That's when I love it. I know, he's in my palm of my hand. I will take him wherever I want to.
Yeah.
With that question, I will show him a whole variety of cigars. I explained to him briefly. Cigars, you could choose something small, something large, something medium, something strong, something extraordinary. But can I ask, when are you going to smoke the cigar? Are you going to go outside and perhaps have a beer in the pub and smoke the cigar? Or are you going to go and have a meal somewhere and then you're going to smoke? Are you going to share it with some friends? And a few questions that gives you a very good idea of where the cigar is going, who's going to smoke it, when he's going to smoke it, in what company is he going to smoke it. And accordingly, I always give a good guidance to what he should smoke, and also the cost of the cigar as well. You could, I try to be diplomatic, gentle, whatever you want to call it, suggesting cigars which are a bit more expensive and not necessarily the right budget for the person who's buying it. Somebody who's buying his first cigar, I would never let him buy £100 cigar. Start something with 25, 30, 40 pound cigar. Smoke it, enjoy it. If you like that, then I'll guide you to another one similar to this, better, larger, and that will last you longer. It's important, your first cigar, or one of your first cigars, if you smoke the wrong cigar, you never come back again.
Yeah.
I don't know what you would do, but
very, very much along those lines. I've learned from the best. So it's
well
very
played.
difficult to be original when the best has been done already.
And still lives and
still
operates and all that thing.
The other two bits of crucial information we always impart, especially with new smokers, is make sure you've eaten before you enjoy the cigar to avoid your head spinning.
Yeah.
And if possible, enjoy it in good company.
You have a bag. What's in the bag, as Brad Pitt said in Seven?
May I do a little reveal?
Yeah, I'm interested. I all I can see from here, and the team who've been listening intently to all this might get excited about it. All I can see from here is the word Dom. So,
well, if I may, I'll reach into the first one and then hand it over to my father because, well, you will see why.
It can only be handled. Oh, okay. How amazing. So when you say if you can find them, we found them. Have we?
We have found them.
Yes, you're allowed to look at them.
Well, actually, should we start with Tom?
Yes.
How amazing. So the message reads, "Don't smoke too much, my dear Edward, Zeno Davidoff, 2nd of June, 1980. Dom Perignon, La Habana, Cuba."
Now, you'll see there's some padding inside. I've done that just for safe transit. But
Dad,
why don't you give us a little bit about the that particular box?
And by the way, presumably there are perhaps, low hundreds of these left, if that.
There are private collectors who do have them. I don't know exactly who they are.
But these are some of the rarest cigars in the world. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. So there's this little note here. Every time I took one out of here, I made a note.
How nice. How lovely.
But this box was presented to me by Zeno Davidoff on the second day of the opening of the shop.
Yeah.
After our reception in the Dorchester Hotel, the next day he came to the shop. He said, "Edward, I've got a present for you." And he presented me a box of Dom Perignon. And me being me, as always, I said, Davidoff, you have to sign it or write something for me there, which he did. And then when I read the message, I said, "Well, I promise, Mr. Davidoff, I won't smoke too much. I will smoke one every year. And when I smoke the last one, I will retire. I was in my early 40s. I'll be 60 years old by the time I smoke the last one. Perfect time to retire.
So now in your late 50s, you're still planning to hit that?
No. And I religiously started smoking these cigars. I smoked the first layer every year, one on 29th of May. And then when I reached the lower section, there was only 12 left there. I hesitated and I put one back. I said, I'll smoke one next year. I'm sure Zeno won't mind if I smoke one every other year.
So this is 1993. Dad has discovered he's smoked through the top layer.
Yes.
And from there on, I was even more cautious. I think the last one I smoked there was on that piece of note I had. Was, God, when was it? There we are.
In
2005.
2005.
That's the last time I picked one up there and smoked it. So I am still lucky I have 9 left.
Amazing.
I have 9 left here. I still promise I will smoke the last one before I retire, or on the day of my retirement.
At this current rate, that's terrific. You've got plenty of time left.
Yeah, so if I smoke one every 5 years, that will give me plenty of time.
Yes, exactly.
By the way, Tom, I know you're a cigar fan yourself, so here you are. Have a look at that and have a smell of it. I can't tempt you to smoke it. I know
It's
we're not
definitely
allowed.
Cuban. I mean, you get that hint. I always think of it as a sort of mint. It's sort of a minty smell that I get. I mean,
Yes,
You see that beautiful embossing on the Davidoff band as well.
yeah, it's lovely that.
so this is 46-year-old.
It's a
box.
46-year-old cigar. It's older than
And
me.
the leaf is still super glossy.
Just about.
Yeah, your leaf is super glossy too. But it is a superbly made cigar. I love this.
So
I love the ivory band, because obviously the Davidoff band today is more sort of parchment white.
Yes.
And is it black writing on it now?
It's very similar, actually. No, the writing, everything is the same.
More white than it is now as well, but
Yeah. Oh, do you think this is sort of
They do oxidize
Yeah.
and age.
great?
it's
Superb.
46 years in baking. So
Yeah.
And we brought this box because it, in so many ways, captures a sliding doors moment for us. You know, where not just a whole way of life and a whole place of life changed, but didn't change to our detriment. You know, when I look at what Dad did effortlessly, appeared to me, and I think about myself, if I had been 35, 36 in a similar situation, new country, new career, new risks, with a family, all of those things, I'm sure I would have had a nervous breakdown. And yet my father just, swam through it, with cigars, with elegance, with grace. And this is why.
it was the love of the cigars that kept me going.
If you want to just
There we are.
pop that back. Don't worry, we'll tidy that up later. But I do have another box, and this is, again, an important box. Excuse me whilst I just... This.
I'll leave you to tell the
Okay,
story
well,
of that
let
one.
me... This was given to my father again, but Tom, I'll give it to you to read this.
Yeah.
And then perhaps that, and then I'll explain what it is.
So it says on the side, eat less but the best, drink less but the best, smoke less but Davidoff. I'm quite right.
And of course, who could have written that?
Ed Schneider. How amazing. For my friend Edward, 29th of May, 1997. From Dominican Republic. The double R.
This is the first of the double R's they made in the Dominican Republic.
So this really talks.
It
to,
is like kind of handling. It feels funny, sort of handling something, sort of a
Oh,
relic,
sorry,
of sorts. This is the end of Indiana Jones when
The
Holy Grail.
Yeah. You've chosen wisely.
the light bulb that never burns out. Pure Dominican production, and this was in a 50 cabinet, which, as all cigar lovers around the world will know, it's probably the best way to keep an aged cigar.
Yeah. Is that all 50?
It is.
It should be.
I hope so.
Unless your security system has failed, though. Here we are, Tom. Let's
You should
just
smell
pass
it.
that to you.
Yeah. Is that all right?
Yeah.
Do that?
Like a baby almost.
Yes, exactly. Wow, that's quite something.
So, on the subject of, aging and collecting and so on, well, here's an example of a cigar that we didn't keep with a mind to having a rare value to it,
You're
but
smelling tobacco 30 years in making in this box.
That's extraordinary. What a beautiful sight as well. I don't know which end is prettier, guys, do you think?
well, both ends, right?
Yeah.
And a bit in the middle as well.
Yeah.
And again, this carries a huge, significance for us because it tells the story of Davidoff's move into Dominican Republic. It carries a very personal memory because Dr. Schneider is really is really such an important element to our story as well. Not just Zeno Davidoff, but
Zeno was the face of the company, but Schneider was the brains. He was a genius. I mean,
And for people who don't understand, I know that this goes back to these sort of cigar technicalities rather than the sentimental side, but the reason those are able to be in such good nick after this amount of time is that tobacco leaves are full of oils, and it is the fermentation of the oils within the cigar that determine flavor profile. And if you keep tobacco leaves at a particular level of humidification and temperature, because you like to keep it cold, isn't it?
yes.
Then the oils will remain. They won't dry out, and this is why this has lasted so long.
that's exactly right.
Here's a one thing though I want to just check with you, Edward. You like your cigars dry.
I do.
You refer to it as being the difference between bread and toast. Both are perfectly perfectly fine. It's a matter of taste, but you say that it actually. I mean, Shari, our mutual friend Shari, he refers to them as being crispy. But so this is a preference that you have, and I thought for the viewer / listener who may just assume that they need to keep their cigars nice and squidgy, actually there is another option.
Well, as I always say, you have to enjoy a cigar any way you like it. I mean, to me.
Can I just say that the listeners and viewers won't see is that the crew have been on their feet for the last 10 minutes, rushing around in a way that I've never seen them before in any episode because we've been bringing out these sort of treasures. But sorry, you were saying.
I'm not going to smoke it,
No.
but this cigar has been in my pocket for probably a couple of days.
Yeah.
And it will be there until it's my emergency cigar.
Yeah.
This is, until
Do you have a daily emergency? Is that the thing?
I do. I mean, to be honest, like once I'm outside of the studio here and in open air, hopefully I'll be allowed to light up a cigar just to get a whiff of it.
Yeah.
I don't have to, but I would like to.
Yeah. I think at that point, it's frustrating to say goodbye, but I think we've covered an enormous amount of ground. It's so lovely to hear the story again about
It's a pleasure,
Iran
Tom.
and setting up this it's a genuine institution. People from all around the world, when they come to London, they see it as a sort of must-do destination, which you won't find on those sort of usual tourist guides. It's just something that those who know really want to be able to make the pilgrimage.
Tom, it's been a fantastic journey for me. I mean, I'm looking back now. I've lived and worked here more than half of my life, and every day, every single day, it's been a joy and a pleasure. Even when it's not a joy and pleasure, it still is.
Yeah.
With time, it gets better. The best part of this little thing called the cigar is it brings people together. It brings friends together. It brings and creates new friendships. The reason we're sitting here is this now.
Yeah.
And I have been fortunate to meet so many lovely, lovely people who, because of the love of the cigar, we became very close friends. And it happens all the time. People, total strangers, they bump into each other on a corner of a street or in the lobby of a hotel. They light up a cigar if they're allowed to, and next thing you know, beautiful friendships come out of that.
Thank you so much for coming down and introducing people not only to the world of your particular shop and the place that you sort of partly must call home these days, but then also that other aspect of cigar smoking that I think is a really important thing to cover. So thank you very much.
Thank you for inviting us.
It's a pleasure and honor, Tom. Thank you.
I remain Tom Chamberlin, and this has been The Luxury Dispatch, the podcast that explores the objects, people, and traditions that define the world of luxury. My thanks to Edward and Eddie Sahakian for sharing their knowledge, their stories, and their enduring commitment to one of the great rituals of craftsmanship and hospitality. If you've enjoyed today's episode, please do like, subscribe, and leave a comment. We read every one. Tell us your own rituals of luxury, the crafts you admire most, or the worlds you would like us to step into next. Thank you for listening, and happy dressing.